What's up, you all? We live today. I'll be going over Uncle Tom 2 documentary. Well, not going over it. This is just the first 20 minutes. And then next week, I'm going to do the full movie recap. But I want you all to actually watch the film before I do the review of the film. Hopefully, y'all up tonight. What's up, Flame? Oh, you know what? Give me 1 second. So on this journey, it's Uncle Tom 2, but it's the first 20 minutes. What's up, Mika? What's up, Kamir? What's up, Miss Howard? It's the first 20 minutes. And I'm gonna do a full film review next week. Let some folks get in. What's up, Lisa? What's up, y'all on IG? Give y'all about a couple more minutes. And I'm gonna start playing it. The film is called Uncle Tom 2. And it's by Chad O. Jackson. What's up, Doug? What's up, Kenya? Oh, no, they hating, Chaz. Right. Uncle Tom went from a hero to a villain. But I believe that's the point of the film, is to highlight how what we've been told is a lie. Um, I always go back to the Matrix, and Morpheus tells Neo, he said, "You were living in a dream world, Neo." He told him, "You were living in a dream world." And he showed him, "This is the world as you know it." And he showed him on the TV. But when it came to the Matrix, the TV went away and they were actually sitting in the program. If you go back and look at that scene, go look at when he showed him his world, which is on a TV screen, but then showed him the real world. They were actually inside the program and it was all around them. And it's the same thing with what they've told us about Black history, Black people, Black culture, and everything. It's all been a lie. So much to the point where we're not even Black. You know, we're not even Black. You think about it from a spiritual standpoint, you're not actually Black, and you're calling yourself Black every day. So you're actually lying. Just think about it from a spiritual standpoint of you being something that you're not. It would be the equivalent to somebody saying they were green. It's just not true. And so when you walk around saying you're something and it's not true, what's the spiritual consequence for that? There's a consequence for that. There's a consequence for identifying something that's not true. And I think we're seeing the consequence today. You're gonna have to do a Insta video on this. We'll look at the coon playing in the background. They called us coons for following the Most High. I mean, they're going to talk about this in this documentary, and they talk about how basically Black people abandon God. And if you think about it, what they've told you black is actually the abandonment of God. If you think about what they're telling you, what it means to be black, it's not godly. It's just not. And you can tell by how they market to you. Everything they market to black people is low vibrational. Everything. It's not, they don't market anything of a higher consciousness to black people. That's tell you everything. Just think about it. Look what, even when it came to McDonald's, they had the McDonald's playing hip hop music. They was rapping, like, look how they market to black people. It's all low vibrational stuff. So that should let you know what it means to be black. When people invest in black, look at what they're investing in. All these corporations got together and started giving money once BLM said give money. Just think about that. All these corporations started giving all this money once BLM said give the money. But who runs BLM? The same friends of the person that runs BLM. All those corporations are friends with the guy that runs BLM, George Soros. So if you take a step back, you'll see that all of this is set up. It's not real. And we took our relationship with God and we threw it in the trash. We are supposed to be God's children. We're supposed to be God's children. We're supposed to be following God. It's not based on color. It's based on the way of life. It's based on a culture. It's based on a people. We're supposed to be following God. We totally abandoned God. If you notice, black people started really falling off when they abandoned the church. When the church stopped being a center point, or when they infiltrated the church, that's when all this stuff happened. You're gonna listen to it. You're gonna see it. But when I talk about black people, I don't talk about black people from a skin color sense, because eventually everybody in the world is going to be black in here and in their spirit. So being black is not about a physical appearance. Being black is a spiritual thing, and it's not good. It's a mental thing. It's not good. It's a social thing. It's not good. It's a cultural thing. It's not good. It's an ungodly thing. It's not good. God would never look at us and say we're to be defined as a color. God said we are wonderfully and fearfully made. So at the end of the day, if we're wonderfully and fearfully made, if we are more than conquerors, then that means that surpasses skin color. That surpasses how a person looks. We're talking about the spirit. And what they've done is they've corrupted the spirit of black people, because to be black is to be controlled. Is to be controlled. And ultimately, it's going to lead to the destruction of the world. But let's get started, though. I'm glad y'all tuning in. I try to go at different times to see how the traffic is, but I figure more folks will watch this tonight. What's up, King Tabernacle? What's up? Oh, come here. I see. What's up? Come here.
My hope is that this will help to break the spell. The spell that so many people are under. That keeps them angry. makes them bitter, blinds them from the truth, and realize that they're being deceived, that they've been lied to, that we've all been lied to our entire life. My hope is that people will begin to wake up.
Yeah, you guys, I was talking to Instagram and told them if they wanted to see it, they can come over to YouTube and watch it. That's all I was saying. And to follow, Chad O. Jackson, but you already know. But yeah, that's what I was saying. All right.
If you care to think at all, it's very clear that something is going on here. There's something to this, man. Have we been lied to this whole time?
I'm here at Fort Monroe in Hampton, once known as Point Comfort, the very spot where the first enslaved Africans arrived in America 401 years ago in 1619.
Now, I want you to think about these people showing you or portraying that your whole existence prior to today was just pain, agony, and sorrow. And it's a whole nother time period that existed that's the opposite of what they're showing you now. I remember growing up, I'm from Sacramento, California. A lot of people know it as Macramento. But I'm from Macramento, California. And when I was coming up, everybody that was an adult owned a home. Like when I was growing up, like in my neighborhood, all these black, quote unquote, black people, everybody owned a home. All of the older people owned multiple homes, had land, boats. Like that was the norm. It was normal for older black people to have homes and land. It was normal. So you got to ask yourself, how was that the norm for me then, but it's not the norm now? What happened? What happened to a group of people that I grew up and the whole neighborhood was thriving and everybody looked like me? The whole neighborhood was thriving, everybody looked like me. You had people that fixed cars. The guy would come around with the fruit truck. You had it was just a self-sustaining community. Cordial. And then people may say, well, they put crack into the neighborhoods. Well, if they put drugs into the neighborhood, how could drugs work how could it work? There has to be a level of cultural compromise with a people for drugs to come into the community and take hold like that and work. So you got to think about what happened after the civil rights movement. And I always mention this. the blaxploitation films. They were showing you how to be black. You said, say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud. Black is beautiful. All this black stuff, black is great. And they said, you know what? Black ain't supposed to be great. Now you all are African Americans. So now it was a period of African Americans until when they bought black back this time, when they brought black back this time, now black is you're oppressed. Notice how the rhetoric changed about black. Before, black was strong and powerful. They got rid of it. African American. Now they brought black back, and now you're oppressed and you're being tortured by white people. It's all psychological. That's why I call it the Blatrix. It's a system of control. But beyond it being a system of control, it's spiritual. These people are casting spells on you. They're casting spells on us. You got somebody dictating to you what your existence is. I rejected Black Lives Matter from the jump because I said I refuse to beg to someone for my life to exist. It's insanity. And eventually, Black Lives Matter will just be Black Matter Lives. I know it sounds crazy, but that mark of the beast graphene oxide stuff, graphene oxide stuff is going to end up being Black Matter Lives. And it's going to live where? In the people. Eventually, the whole world's going to be black. I know I sound crazy and off the wall. I want to stick to this topic, but I'm just telling you all how they have us in this trick black with this whole identity of being black. And when we were self-sustaining and progressing, they couldn't control the narrative. So they had to pull all kind of tricks to control the narrative. One of those tricks was the civil rights movement. Thank you, Sneakerhead, for giving me a badge. I appreciate it. Sneakerhead always buys a badge. Thank you so much. Let's continue.
The atrocities my ancestors endured, packed and stacked on slave ships like pieces of property, brought to this country to build it with their blood, sweat, and tears. Psychiatrists say trauma like that can affect a people for generations.
No justice, no peace.
7-year-old Wenta Amore Rogers' passion during a recent protest in New York struck a chord across the country.
Peace. No justice.
The amount of passion in her voice, in her eyes for a child that young made me not just see her, it made me see our ancestors before her.
So that little girl learned that from history. She learned that from her parents. And that's even like why it's so important for us to continue to tell the stories.
Nationally renowned psychiatrist Dr. Dion Metzger says the unrest we see today is 401 years in the making.
And in the point of slavery, to the point of, whippings and killing and lynchings.
The whole idea of using slavery today as an excuse for the crime and dysfunction in the Black community doesn't make a lot of sense. If you look at the Blacks that came out of slavery, they were relatively prosperous, and you did not have the dysfunction and crime that you see taking place today. Black people are constantly being told that because of slavery, because of systemic racism, that their anger and their bitterness and their rage is justified.
Is it possible that?
So this is why I go against the narrative of the trauma of slavery being passed down, because everybody wasn't a slave. So if everybody wasn't a slave, then why is it only the bad stuff getting passed down? Why didn't the good stuff get passed down? Why didn't all the entrepreneurial stuff get passed down? Why didn't all the wanting to have a family get passed down? Wanting to be married passed down? Wanting to build communities passed? Why didn't the good stuff pass down? Why is it that only the bad stuff travels through the genes? Isn't that kind of a convenient narrative that only the bad stuff comes through genetics, none of the good stuff? So again, what this does psychologically is it makes you believe that your existence was this way. And for it to be better, you have to really get white people to acquiesce to your demands, but the demands that are put on the table are nothing. It's nothing. Any solution they've offered, it would further destroy an entire group of people. There's no solution that would be beneficial to any black person. I guarantee it. If they give you reparations, then you can't complain anymore. Most black folks don't want that. So if they get rid of the police, it's going to be genocide. Nobody like. So what I'm saying is, the problem again is spiritual, and they had to show you and tell you what black was, and they were working on black for a long time, even down to the point where when the white people used to do blackface, they used to put black shoe polish, whatever it was, on their face, literal black. They weren't even matching the skin color. And then they had black people putting on blackface. All that stuff is psychological. It's to get you to buy into black. I even saw Burger King was even serving black buns. All this stuff is psychological. So in the future, you won't be able to distinguish the actual color black from yourself. This is all a setup. It's all a setup. It's spiritual. They want you to not be of God. And every step of the way, they've been trying to get you to continuously turn your back away from God and look in the mirror at yourself. That's what all this stuff is about, for you to look at you. That's it. And when you look at you, what you say is, I need to be put on this pedestal. Who's going to do it? White people. Who's not letting me do it? White people. The police. Systemic racism. Microaggressions. It's all idol worship. Now, I know it sounds hard to conceptualize, but this whole black thing is idol worship. I'm telling you. When God looks at you and God looks at me, God looks at a spirit. If this is a temporary existence, why are we putting eternal stock in a limited existence? If we're only going to be here for a moment, then why are we putting so much stock in the moment? It's a setup. Let's continue.
That as Black people, we are experiencing a PTSD from what they went through 401 years ago.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Just because we didn't experience it, us learning about the history or even from family stories, it's the same thing.
That does not make a lot of sense, given that Blacks coming out of slavery had lives that were more functional. The functionality of Black lives at the turn of the century was because Blacks were deeply religious people. They adhered to strong Judeo-Christian values and principles. And to the extent that they get further and further away from those principles, I think that you see more dysfunction in Black communities because they've lost the anchor.
Church was the central point. It was the center point of social gathering, culture, religious activity, everything. Every Sunday, you woke up, you had breakfast with your mom and dad, and then all of us came out of the house at the same time, and we start walking toward Sunday school. Even if you couldn't sing, you're going to be in the youth choir.
They never show you these images. Why don't they ever show us these images? You would think this was an entirely different timeline. You would think that what we're looking at right now was an entirely different existence for a group of people we don't even know who they are. And this was Black people. So why don't they ever show you this? There's a reason why they don't show you this. Just like they only show you one group of people being killed by the police, it's the same reason they never show you prosperous, our people prosperous back in the 40s, 50s, and early 60s. This is why. Because you can't have the narrative if this is true. PTSD, how do you have PTSD from reading about slavery? We have read about all types of horrific and horrible stuff and didn't have PTSD. But you're telling me because it was slavery, now my genes internalize it and I pass it down to my children. It's absolutely insane. It's insane. And it's not true. The only way this stuff affects anybody is if it's constantly thrown in your face, constantly put in your subconscious, constantly. They got to do this. Hold on. Isn't there a movie coming out called Till? So Emmett Till movie's coming out. We just had The Woman King. What else is coming? They got to constantly remind you. Why doesn't Hollywood do a film about this period? Why doesn't Hollywood do a film from 1940 to 1960 when we cut down the poverty rate by almost 50%? When we was buying the most houses we ever bought in history, in our history in this country. Why does Hollywood not show that? Why doesn't Hollywood show the other side? Well, I'll tell you, because it's called programming. It's called conditioning. It's called brainwashing. It's called mind rape, propaganda. Let's continue.
And then Wednesday, you would go to youth Bible study. And then the summer, you go to church retreat camp. Those were just expected things. And that formed the fundamental basis of the Black community. It was that sense of right and wrong. It was that sense of morality. It was that sense of discipline that we had.
The church was producing hope. It produced within the community a stability of purpose. It held us together. Families were strong. Dad was there. Mom was there. The children were growing up under the influence of a two-parent home. That all changed.
It's not because of racism. It's not because of police brutality. It's not because of slavery. It's not because of Jim Crow. It's not because of white supremacists and white privilege and all that crap they're telling you now. It's because of lack of character.
This the gutter right here. You feel me?
Niggas die for this shit.
Niggas die
jail for this shit.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Like, niggas die for this shit. Niggas live for this shit. Nigga, I'm born and raised. In jail for this shit.
TG. Free all our homies, everybody. Free Lil Dub, Lil Baby Dub.
Black people lost character. Look at all the neighborhoods, the communities, the cities where blacks have taken over. When they move into those areas, they're very nice. But by the time the blacks are done with them, crime, homelessness, they don't paint their homes, they don't clean up. It just become a mess.
We grew up to this shit. Like,
It's because of lack of family, and most black people today do not believe in God. They believe about him, but they don't believe in him. It wasn't that way when I was growing up, but it's that way today.
If you walk through any black urban community, you see many black men standing on corners doing nothing.
Get this paper. That's the only thing you can do unless these niggas won't smoke. You know? Okay.
Young, middle-aged, and old. Because they're operating under a definition that is different from what God has defined for them as their role as men.
We go to other spots, fuck niggas up, beat niggas up, come through this motherfucker, you gonna die. You gonna die. You can't even come to the store and get no motherfucking bottle. You gonna get robbed and killed. Right. You know what I'm saying? That's society. And niggas do a lot of hate.
Sometimes I'm ashamed of black people.
So what I want you all to understand is that even though the majority of black people don't commit crimes, the majority of black people are law-abiding, majority of black people work, all these things, the problem is that as a collective, black people don't reject the culture. So eventually the culture will take over the people. It's only a matter of time. Black people celebrate the decadence, the death and destruction and damnation. So if you compound that with a movement that's being put in place to enslave everybody, then you can see how problematic it is to not reject these things. And I always talk about rejecting these things. I reject black culture. I reject liberal culture. I reject it, meaning when it's presented to me, I reject it. It's satanic, it's demonic, it's wicked, it's evil. It's not in my home, it's not in my life. I reject it. But black people are entertained by the decadence, the death, destruction, and damnation. So therefore, the culture is allowed to be in most black people's homes, most black people's minds, and worst of all, most black people's spirits. And so when folks hear me, I ain't black, I'm free, they think I want to be white. No, I don't want to be anything of this world. I want to be of God. So that's not confined to a color. Even if I turned white tomorrow, I would still be under a system of control. It's no different. It's all a system of control. The only way to free yourself is to be of God. That's it. So at the end of the day, black people were thriving because they had the Bible and they believed it. And not just had the Bible and not just believed it, but they made a life centered around the Bible as a culture. So now the Bible became a culture, much like the Jewish community took a religion and made it a nationality and made it a culture. It's the same type of thing. It's what we used to do. So we can't even get mad at them. It's what we used to do and what we should have kept doing. When those folks said we're going to take prayer out of schools, we should have been marching and protesting for that. How convenient was it that during the civil rights movement, which was a communist movement, the government took prayer out of school? That means they were all working in cahoots. Why didn't we protest and march and riot about prayer being out of school when the Bible was the foundation for black people's existence? I'll tell you, because by that time, they were already being programmed and conditioned by folks that look just like them. Let's continue.
Because we let people take advantage of us.
And you can't even call me back tomorrow?
What are we projecting to the world? What are we rapping about?
Porn star, big booties, let me film it, then shoot it. 3D money, no illusion.
It's scary to me at times.
Might hit your lies, bitch.
That is not black culture. That's a facade. Throughout history, Black folks were honorable. They had integrity. That's what Black people were. But now,
I don't mean to cut Tatum off, but notice how anytime you see some footage from back in the day, you see Black people always dressed up. You see Black people either dressed up going somewhere or working. All the old footage is Black people being productive. What happened? This image, this stuff that we are seeing right now is rejected today. You know that Black folks got mad at the Cosby Show. They said it wasn't realistic enough. Think about the mindset. Think about the mindset to say that it wasn't realistic for there to be a Black doctor and a Black lawyer get married and have children and have a functioning household, a loving household with great children and great morals. The Cosby Show wasn't realistic enough. And then when Family Matters came, they tried to appease all the people and say, you know what, we're going to give you Steve Urkel, the good child, the straight A student, the scientist, the genius with morals and character, and then we're going to make you all pick between him and remedial, slow, barely reading Eddie Winslow. Eddie Winslow could sing and play basketball. And he had a cold flat top, sang and play basketball, get all the girls. Now you got to pick between Eddie Winslow and Steve Urkel, the child prodigy and scientist. They show you Steve Urkel getting ridiculed and mocked every day on the show, and then Eddie Winslow being praised for poor performance. It's programming, it's conditioning, and we don't see it. It's a setup. These folks are giving you images every single day, and it's a false image. But they got you going to the mirror looking and saying, how can I myself match up with that? How in the world did Black women have the bodies that everybody wanted just to be the ones leading the race and getting BBLs? Black women had the bodies that all the women wanted just to end up leading the race in BBLs. It don't even make any sense, but it does. When they got you looking at yourself as an idol. Now all you care about is what? How you look. It's spiritual. To be Black is to be controlled for a reason, because it pulls you from God. And once you pull from God, it don't matter if it's the devil or the world. The results are the same. Let's continue.
now our Black people are Jay-Z, Cardi B, George Floyd.
We like to deify our idols. Now that's after we've burned down our own stores. After we've destroyed our own neighborhoods. After we rob our own local businesses. After there are no more sneakers to steal. Then we'll paint murals on the wall. Our young Black boys and Black girls are being taught to look up to these individuals. That the purpose in life is to be memorialized on a wall like this.
Images are powerful. You look on churches, powerful images of saints and figures from the Bible, and the goal to communicate the meta-narrative of Scripture, who we are, why we're here, what's wrong with the world, and how and what is wrong be made right. Your worldview, your religion answers those questions. What we're seeing today is another religion communicating another meta-narrative and another worldview. And these murals are the stained glass windows of this new religion.
Black lives matter. Nobody hurting y'all. We're
I wish we didn't have to do this. I wish it wasn't the case that these kind of things were going on, but they are. And these things are going on because we're at war. And I say that, and that makes a lot of people uncomfortable. This idea of the war that we're a part of, the battle that we're a part of, the war that is raging in the marketplace of ideas.
He said a war is being waged in the marketplace of ideas. So think about when it was Pontius Pilate and Jesus, and the Jews were like, you know, we want you to kill him, crucify him. And Pontius Pilate's like, I find no fault in this man. So Pontius Pilate said, well, let me do some trick. I'm gonna do a trick. Let me bring out Barabbas. So he brings out Barabbas, and he's thinking the people won't pick the murderer over Jesus, so I can let him go. But the people said, give us the murderer. At that very moment, at that moment right there, you saw the beginning of Black culture. That moment. Because at that moment, the people had to choose. And they wasn't white. We can all agree they weren't white. But they had to choose. Either we take God or we take the devil. That moment created a culture because they said, give us someone that would kill us over someone that would give us everlasting life. That's when that culture was created, right then and there. And if we fast forward, now what do we pick? We pick the murderer. We pick the criminal. We pick the people of low character. We pick all of the people to immortalize that are really detriments to our society and our community. Those are the ones that we make heroes, but guess what? It's going beyond heroes. Now we are making these people like divine figures. So 20 years from now, people will think that George Floyd was a saint. They'll think he was a saint. They'll think Breonna Taylor was a saint. They'll think all these people, Jacob Blake, they'll think they were saints. Nobody's saying they should have got killed, but to think they are a saint is something else. That is a cultural shift because that means you're aligning poor character and poor behavior with you, how you live your life. It's nothing to do with skin color, it's all culture. And the problem is, the man said we in a war, and he's 100% correct. We are in a war with ideas. So now you got an information age, and right when the information age comes, they're bombarding your psyche with everything dealing with race. Right when the information age comes, they're bombarding you with race. So they can show you something over and over and over and over again. Most Black people can tell you about George Floyd, but can't tell you what's in the Bible. Think about that. Most Black folks can tell you who George Floyd is, but if you pick somebody out the Bible, they can't tell you. They can't tell you. That should tell you everything. If you ask these people, what have these people done, they can't tell you. Because you know why? Because it's been a culture shift and a culture change. So now they're telling you that all of your heroes need to be flawed. All of your heroes need to be worse than you. So if all of your heroes are worse than you, then guess what? Your standard for living is very low. If my hero is supposed to be George Floyd, then my standard is low. It's a setup. Let's continue.
When we go to the marketplace of ideas, we have to be reminded of Paul's words. Though we walk according to the flesh, we are not waging war in the flesh. This is not an easy battle to engage in. Our adversary is vicious, unrelenting, and there are some who've been captured by him to do his will. But remember this, we walk in the flesh, we're not waging war according to the flesh. We're not at war with people. In Ephesians 6, he makes it clear, this war is with principalities and powers, not with people. This is a spiritual battle. This is spiritual warfare.
What happened? Get shot. Police.
I see the supremacy of Christ being challenged. What did Marx hate? He hated God. This is a war against God. And I don't want to see people deceived.
Why is Black Lives Matter important for the US right now and in the world?
Black Lives Matter is our call to action.
He was concerned that there's a lack of ideological direction in Black Lives Matter.
We actually do have an ideological frame. Myself and Alicia in particular are trained organizers. We are trained Marxists.
I mean, this documentary is brilliant. So Black Lives Matter is a communist organization. And when you talk about communism, Black people think that communism is for white people. What they've done to Black people is said this: you live in America, but you aren't a part of America. But that's also deception, because what they're saying is that you won't have the consequences of what happens to America. And it's just not true. Somebody said if America has the cold, then Black folks have the flu. So the notion that Black people can exist in America and not be affected by policies and economics and government and all is absolutely ridiculous and foolish. So what they're telling you is that all you got to do is listen to us. Now imagine 3 lesbians getting the majority of Black people to buy into something, so much to the point where they could literally say we are communists and Black people shed blood behind them. You understand that we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against the rules of darkness, against the wickedness in high places? Do you know how crazy it is for 3 women that don't even care about men? So they don't care about men, they don't care about family. 3 women that don't care about family, don't care about the community. Literally, they're just telling you to go out there and fight white people. And the majority of Black folks did it. They didn't do it physically and go out to the streets. They did it psychologically, with their mind, and they did it with their spirit. Because this whole notion that you need to tell somebody that your life matters, to me, is satanic and demonic. Your life matters to God, period. Seeking man's approval is already putting you on the wrong side of the fence. So it's just crazy that Black people got tricked by 3 lesbians. And I'm saying lesbians because they've made it clear that they don't care about the men. And that's what we don't care about the men, period. We only want men in the household. And isn't it crazy that black folks got tricked by them, and then here comes Joe Biden. And black folks break the record for Joe Biden. And I don't care if they didn't cast the votes. I don't care. Black people put the energy into Joe Biden being elected because black folks gave the okay. Black folks endorsed it. So at the end of the day, what we're seeing now is a result of this spiritual fight that, to be honest with you, black people aren't prepared to fight. That's right, a three-headed beast. Because if you think about it, right now, black people as a whole, as a collective, don't really deal with spirituality. If they did, none of this stuff would appeal to them. What Biden said wouldn't appeal to them. The music wouldn't appeal to them. And think about it. If black people were spiritual, nothing they're being fed would appeal to them. And everything they're being fed appeals to them. So clearly there's a disconnect between the spirit and the physical. Bible says that the spirit is weak, the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. So black people as a whole, culturally, are not prepared for this fight because it's a spiritual battle. And what it takes to defeat this is God. So if you're going to reject God and you're going to follow this somebody said this three-headed dragon right here, you're going to lose every time. Let's continue.
Communism begins with this German named Karl Marx. 100 years ago, he created the theory of communism in one of his books.
If you have the founders of Black Lives Matter saying that they're trained Marxists, how does Marxism relate to the black community? If you're talking about a community that is deeply rooted in the Judeo-Christian faith heritage, then how do you make that connection?
This is the book, an official copy printed in Moscow, which explains that communism is based on two main ideas: that all religion is bad and that all private property is bad. Therefore, Marx said, religion must be destroyed.
It was Karl Marx who says, my goal in life is to dethrone God and to destroy capitalism.
Now, how is it that his two main goals were to dethrone God and get rid of capitalism? Because he knows that even if you get rid of God and folks still have an option with money, they'll still never submit. In order to get complete submission, you got to get rid of God and you got to get rid of the money. When God talks about money in the Bible, God says you can't serve two masters because you're going to love the one, you're going to hate the other. So Karl Marx already knows if I get rid of God, I got to deal with the money. We can pretty much say that most folks will fight harder for money than they will for God. So it'd be a greater fight taking the money away. So he says he got to get rid of the God and the money simultaneously. So all religion is bad and all private property is bad. So basically, you need to be a slave. Now keep in mind, Karl Marx won't be a slave. Black Lives Matter won't be a slave. All these new woke black folks want you to believe that capitalism is the problem. When black folks achieve through capitalism, it's not the capitalism. It ain't capitalism. It's the greed and desire of the people. There are plenty of capitalists that are good people with no problems, but then there are some that are bad. But there's plenty of poor people that got bad morals and characters too. They lie, cheat, and steal just with the best of them, even more so. At the end of the day, capitalism ain't bad. It's what you do with anything that makes it bad. And they say guns don't kill people. People kill people. So, but Karl Marx, the same people that Black Lives Matter are following, literally said, get rid of God and the money. And this who BLM was following, And this is who the most black people were following. But on a spiritual level, they just did a poll amongst black people, and 60% of black people favored socialism. And black folks have no idea what it is to live in a socialist country. Black culture doesn't allow for socialism because black culture is selfish. So the irony that black people in mass want to be a part of something that they would hate is crazy. But again, it's spiritual because the Bible says that God will give you over to a reprobate mind. That means you're going to push God away so much to the point where God says, you know what, you got it. You know, once God says you got it, it's over. You got it. You know, if you're not all the way, God will kind of fight, you know, go back and forth, tug of war with you. But you keep pushing and keep pushing, you know what, you got it. Following Black Lives Matter still is a slap in God's face because the man that started communism said, get rid of God. Abortion. The woman that started abortion wanted to erase your race. So everything that black folks are involved in is not only against God, but detrimental to themselves. This is why I chose not to be black, because to be black is to be controlled, because everything that is black is anti-God and self-destructive. Let's continue.
His thinking and his writing concentrated on relationships and power.
I want you to go to UncleTom.com and get that documentary. It's going to blow your mind.
Uncle Tom 2 is an odyssey depicting the gradual demoralization of America through Marxist
infiltration of its institutions. This film explores how this deceptive ideology has torn apart the fabric of society while using Black America as its #1 tool for its destruction.
This.
If you watch this film, it's gonna mess with your head.
I mean, I just watched it, man. It's just mind blowing.
Uncle Tom 2 explains going on in this world like I've never seen before.
There's not a movie out there currently that's like this one.
The Uncle Tom movie has certainly left me flabbergasted because I'm like, I can't believe what I'm watching right now. But the evidence is so strong, only a fool can deny the effect of that.
There's a lot of information that most Americans do not know. I don't care if you white, black, whatever. There's a lot of information that's brought forward in the documentary that people just don't know about our history, and about a lot that's happening in our current culture.
It's so deep, it's so true, and so real. It's going to blow your mind.
Awesome film. Everybody needs to watch it. You will learn something.
Not just black people need to watch this. Everybody needs to see this.
This stuff opens your eyes in ways I never thought was even possible.
There are
So I'm gonna close out Instagram and I'm gonna come back because my time is about to be up on this. Hold on. Give me 1 second, YouTube. Give me 1 second. You know, we're almost done. Let's continue.
A lot of things in this movie that is very unsettling, and it's going to upset a lot of people.
The lies were so deep. It's like onions. It's like layers of onions, deep in lies, deceptions in which most people are not ready to hear this.
There were a couple of things in the film that I had to kind of rewind it, because I was like, oh my gosh, how come, I never knew this?
I almost felt dumb. I felt taken. I felt had. I felt bamboozled because I believed it.
This is something that an audience will have to use as a reference tool rather than just a movie that they're entertained by, had a feel-good moment, and left. It resets revisionist history.
There is a buildup in this documentary to get you to a certain point, and that point being that, for the most part, everything we were taught about Black history was a lie.
Everything that I thought about Martin Luther King, everything that I've been told about the Tulsa Massacre, everything I've been told about Black Wall Street, challenged. I'm having to rethink and reevaluate everything I've been taught.
We have been lied to.
We have been sold a bill of goods, and I think Black people, by and large, have been, just eating up the lies.
The deception and the setup was mind-blowing.
One of the things that I thought the film highlighted so well was emphasizing who we think we are versus who we truly were.
It does a good job of showing how we transition from one ideology to the other.
The first Uncle Tom gave you an introduction into what being a Black conservative is all about the whole movement, about the history. But Uncle Tom Part 2 gets into more of the details of why we were conservative and also why we changed, why certain things in this country changed, why in many ways we've fallen from grace.
If you've never seen Uncle Tom, the first one, this movie was a part of my wake-up moment.
It kind of lifted the veil on everything that we were told, because we weren't used to hearing the other side in its totality, at least until we saw this documentary. I would say it was a very crucial component in my political awakening.
If you're new to being conservative, if you're new to just trying to find out more about Black conservatives, this is definitely a movie for you. I suggest watching the first one to get the introduction, to get your feet in the water. And then Uncle Tom Part 2, you're going to be in the deep end. You're going to be doing the breaststroke, backstroke. If you can't swim, then it's going to be a little rough for you, for sure. Watch the first one, then watch the second one. They pair very well with each other.
Uncle Tom 1 was amazing, but this was taken to a different level. And hopefully there's a Part 3 to it. They had to hold back a little bit because it's too much reality.
If you watch the entire movie and you are honest with yourself, you will sit back and say, Lord Jesus, what have they done to us?
When you look at these pictures, you get a sense of what Black life was like.
Some of them look pretty prosperous.
Yeah, so I'm gonna do a full film recap next week, but I really want you all to go check out the film, Uncle Tom 2, UncleTom.com, Chad O. Jackson. And Chad O. Jackson is an excellent content creator himself. I mean, just to listen to him, he's one of the most forward-thinking people that we have talking about, all the stuff that's going on. And a lot of this stuff is just hard to break away because the lies have been embedded in our existence. So we've existed with the lie, like we've been living a perpetual lie this entire time. So it takes a period to deprogram from that. It takes a moment to, to get it out of your system. Even with Neo, he's on the ship and he's like, I can't go back in, huh? He's like, no. Like, you think about it, he's like, even when he knows the truth and he realizes that the real world is not as glamorous and accommodating as the Matrix. Once he's in the real world, it's like he's eating eating like the oatmeal every day, and it's dark, it's dreary, they're traveling through sewers. Like, That's what it is when people know the truth. It's not comforting. The truth is not welcome you with open arms. It's not the purpose of the truth, though. The purpose of the truth is to drive you to God. That's why it's such a shocking thing to the system when the truth is revealed, because the purpose of it is to get you to pivot around and turn towards God. And so most of us, people on the planet, they don't want the truth because they know the truth means you got to change something. And that change for most people is just too much. You know, I never would have thought that, my life would end up like this. Never. Like I never in a million years would have thought that I would end up with even this mindset, how I live, how I care about my daily activities. Like I never would have thought about it. I thought about it. I never would have considered it. I never would have considered, trying to live a righteous life, trying to do what's right just because it's the right thing to do. Like never. Now you fast forward and you see that most of these folks talking about accepting the truth, about being lied to in history, they all got one thing in common. They all believe in God. How is it a connection that the people that believe in God are the ones accepting the truth? Because when you accept God, you realize it's not about me. None of this stuff is about me. It's about what God wants. And what does God want? God wishes that we all should prosper. God wants us to return back to Him. That's God's goal. So guess what? If that's God's goal, how are we putting so much stock in a physical existence? The smallest portion of our existence is this time on earth. Even if we come back 30 times, it's still this much compared to an eternity. So at the end of the day, why are we putting so much stock on this earth? But let me continue. Somebody said, stop taking arm pokes.
Divine providence was clearly operating in the lives of Black Americans.
Throughout history, Black folks were honorable. They had integrity. That's what Black people were.
We were never taught that America was bad and that we were not Americans. We were raised to love America.
Protesters topple a statue of Christopher Columbus and hundreds of statues have been vandalized.
You see people trying to rewrite history.
The American people know these names have to go.
Why is that?
Whenever you have something to be proud of, people have less of a chance of controlling you.
This country is racist from top to bottom, from right to left. And for Black people to become a part of that is for them to become, in fact, anti-Black and to hate themselves.
There is no country in this world that a Black person would rather be. Unless, of course, they grow up in this country.
You broke the contract with for 400 years. We played your
Then
game.
they're fed a lie that is so deceptive.
Black lives matter. Black lives matter.
The reason
I want you to realize that in all of these protests, who is leading the charge? It's not men, it's women. It's women leading the social justice charge. It's women. Isn't that kind of alarming? That in the greatest movement we're about to see in American history, it's being led by women who are being led by women who don't care about the family or the men. They're killing two birds with one stone. They are literally destroying the people and destroying any chance of the people even building themselves up after the ashes have all fallen. It's all women. It's all women leading the charges. I'm not trying to be male chauvinistic. I'm just saying they picked the right group to do it. They put a battery in these women's back and they told these women that you're great just because you're a woman. If you have an entitled mindset, you're gonna work for Satan. Everybody's mind shifts to be, I have to earn it. So America has never been bad. America has always been what the people made it. And that's good or bad according to what the people wanted. I don't buy this notion of nobody having a choice, none of that. I don't buy that. People made America what they wanted America to be. And now we're seeing the fruits of it, period. Can't nobody make you a slave. I don't want to hear it. All these women being led by some more women who don't care about men, working for some white men who want to destroy America. Look at that food chain. Jewish men up here, white men up here, lesbian black women, get the black women to cause the chaos. Oh, and by the way, we don't need the men. We need the men's dead bodies. We don't actually need them. We just need them to get killed or get beat up or tased by the police. We don't actually need them. Maybe occasionally for a child, but that's about it. The men are expendable. So they got the women out there, they got Black Girl Magic out there on the front lines, charging through the streets. Meanwhile, they sit up there and collect all the money and divvy it up and then give it back to the white man and the Jewish man. But then them same people in that whole food chain would look at me and call me a sellout. At the end of the day, I don't buy this notion that my destiny is in somebody else's hands. I don't. So America is going to be what we make America to be. So if we don't like America, we can do something about it. Joe Biden been president for almost 2 years. He'd had a smooth ride, smooth sailing, not a care in the world. So it's what the people want. If the people would have treated Joe Biden how they treated Trump, he would have been checked out. If the people would have treated Joe Biden like they treated Trump, he would have been checked out. Let's continue.
The reason that lie exists is power.
There are certain people who are using the Negro in order to establish that power in Washington. And the Negro is just merely a pawn in a game that's bigger than he is.
Unless, of course,
to establish that power in Washington. And the Negro is just merely a pawn in a game that's bigger than he is.
Yeah, so the film is Uncle Tom 2. I'm gonna do like a full review of it next week. But hope y'all enjoy what y'all saw so far. I just wanted to just share some light and just understand that, you know, all of this is set up. And the only way anybody's going to make it is through God. When the sky's falling and everything is black, nobody's going to care about nationality. Nobody's going to care about whose land it is. Nobody's going to care about chakras, sage, or crystals. Nobody's going to care about the esoterics or the stars. When they cut the lights off and it's chaos, nobody's going to care about all the stuff they're putting stock in now. Nobody. They're not going to care about all these woke folks putting these tattoos on their face, wearing white linen garments, one with nature, all that stuff going out the window. All these folks talking about my land, nationality, go out the window. Because when the sky is falling, you're not going to care about anything but living. Then you're going to have two choices for real. God, maybe three. Satan, death, and God. That's it. You won't even have time to burn some sage. You won't even have time to sit there and pray with the trees. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. So I'm telling you all, why delay the inevitable? Why delay it? Everybody right now just delaying the inevitable. There's going to get to a point where you're going to have to choose God or else. And then you're going to have a choice. It's going to be God or it's going to be Satan. This period right now is grace. You got some grace now. We got grace. We can pick and choose. You got grace now. In the future, there ain't going to be no more grace. In the future, you're going to be giving your life to God and still dying. Like, you're going to be giving your life to God and you still going to die. Like, it ain't you give your life to God, you say, no, you give your life to God, you still going to die. The grace going to be gone. And I understand why. Because God gave you a chance. In 2020, God revealed the truth. And since 2020, everything been getting exposed. You know, I said, well, these folks, they so sloppy. They're not sloppy. It's just the truth has been revealed. So now your eyes are more open because now you can see the truth because the seal was peeled off. So now what looks sloppy to us, they've been doing it. It's just your eyes are open. You can just see through it now because the truth has been revealed. So now, if they can't deceive you anymore, then that means every decision you make is your own decision. So there's a gift and a curse with this. The gift is you can see the truth. The curse is now when you make a choice, you can't blame anybody but yourself. So, you know, one of my goals is to get, you know, people off of this whole race thing. The breath of God is in everybody. Not just everybody, it's even in every animal. Not even every animal. All the plants. The plants even give off oxygen for us to breathe. So the breath of God is literally in every single thing. So guess what that means? We all in this thing together. We all in this thing together. So yeah, check out Uncle Tom 2. Yeah, that's all I have for today. I love you all. Thank y'all so much. Make sure that you all follow Chad O. Jackson on Instagram and YouTube. Follow Uncle Tom 2 on Instagram and YouTube. Yeah. Or Uncle Tom, I think it's Uncle Tom 2 on Instagram and YouTube. If you could just support Chad O and what he's doing, because what he's doing is laying a foundation, because in the future, this will be actual history. It won't be real history in the future, because in the future, George Floyd will be like Jesus. So in the future, this will actually be history. It won't be, and this right here will be forbidden to study. Thank you so much, Eugen. Thank you. I appreciate the sticker. Thank you so much. But in the future, this is going to be forbidden, this truth right here. You know, we didn't have to, Adam and Eve didn't have to bite the fruit. Everything that tree could have gave them, they could have earned the right to know. And that's all God is showing us. We got to have an earning mentality. It's not for white folks to give us anything. It's for you to earn it. It's for you to make way. It's for you to have faith. It's for you to make the mountain move. What character is developed in the people if they're given something? What character is developed in the people if they're given something? We've seen an example of this. The Pharaoh in Egypt, Pharaoh, gave the Israelites reparations. Pharaoh gave the Israelites, the children of Israel, Pharaoh gave them reparations because when they left, they not only got their freedom, but they also got the Pharaoh's gold, his riches. So the Pharaoh was the first person to pay reparations. And what happened in the end? The Pharaoh was the first person to pay reparations. And what happened in the end? In the end, the children of Israel said, we want to go back. They said, we're going to worship false gods. They said, we're going to become an abomination to the Most High. So we've seen an example of reparations. It didn't turn out too good. So I think we ought to consider or reconsider what we really want and what we're asking for. Because they just might, one day they just might give it to us. And I guarantee when they do, it's not going to be good. Listen, I love y'all. Thank y'all so much. And I will see you all on Wednesday. I got some stuff on Darrell Brooks. He was in court today. I got some stuff on Darrell Brooks. And something else I had. I think I had some kind of another tragic story. Anyway, I love y'all. Thank y'all so much. And I will see you all on Wednesday. Thank you.